This time on Roadkill, the Rotsun lives again! At least for the next 30 seconds or so.
I can't see that.
Ah, the Rotsun. This is our 1971 Datsun 240Z that is Roadkill's favorite turbocharged rust bucket. For the past 5 years or so, we've had a love-hate relationship with the car. Finnegan loves it, and I hate it. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's awesome and everything, but it is also so hacked and so rusty. But my biggest gripe is that it never fails to fail us. Every time I get excited about it, it breaks my heart. The first time was in episode 25 when the V6 Chevy-powered 240Z was our pick to win our shootout, but it broke on us. And then we added a junkyard turbo and got kicked off an autocross due to an excessive amount of smoke because of an oiling problem with the turbocharger. And then we thrashed it against a brand new Subaru in a shootout until it overheated on the way to the final event. But then we rescued it, and it let us down again at Willow Springs International Raceway, where we were going to race it against the Dragwar with Randy Topes.
Oh, that's bad.
But instead of giving up on her, we decided to fix the engine, add a cage, and race it at the 24 Hours of Lemons. Everything was going great, except for a whole slew of problems like the wastegates falling off, electrical issues, the transmission breaking, and eventually the engine completely seizing up. So finally, we retired that Chevy V6 and replaced it with a Ford 5.0 V8 from a Fox Body Mustang. It was like a new car again, with more power and a beautifully obnoxious hater pipe and turbos sticking out of the engine bay. And all was great until we tried to drag race it against the Crusher Impala, and the rear end thought all of our new power was pure evil and spit the axle shafts into oblivion. Now, after years of letting us down and years of neglect, we're giving the Rotsun yet another chance to crush our dreams and break our bankroll.
It's been 2 years since I paid any attention to this thing whatsoever.
I'm so excited to be here. This thing's a legend. Look at it. It sucks so bad. It makes me so happy.
God, how great this part of it is, though.
Yeah, oh, this is magic. But none of it looks like
this part.
Yeah, none of it looks like it functions. Like I see a wire harness, a differential, half a transmission, and nothing's plumbed anymore.
Yeah.
This was a running, driving car when I broke something in the back end of it at the drag strip 2 years ago.
And after that, like, Lucky took it apart for us, and I thought the transmission was broken, but it wasn't, and it was the rear end, and it hasn't. Oh, after that, it went to the SEMA show.
That's right. People stored their backpacks inside of it.
Right.
I genuinely don't know where to start because we're about to work with all new parts that we've never installed. Like, we're going to take out the T5 and put a 6-speed. We've got some eBay parts for a rear differential that we've never installed, and I don't know if it even runs. We just start here and work our way backwards with getting a trans in it and then getting a diff. And
Okay, so trans swap first thing.
Sure.
Okay, let's put it in the air.
There's no good place to go except the floor, which is rusty, and I think this is the part where we lift the car up and cave the floor in. Whoa, it's bouncing the back off. It seems much safer.
Wow. As I gaze at the soft underbelly of the Rotsun, I am reminded precisely how horrible this car truly is. I can't even believe we had anything to weld to when they put the roll cage in here. The rust over here on this frame rail is epic, and the patchwork of sheet metal and garbage, pretty bad. But we're gonna make it faster anyway. It looks like we're gonna have to start by removing the stock T5 transmission bell housing. That's what we've always had in this thing. A T5 is fragile like glass. It cannot handle this kind of power. We're gonna be installing a T56, which will take a different bell housing and clutch, but I think we're also gonna have to make some clearance here in the tunnel, so that's gonna be more hacking work. And I am freaking out about what we're gonna do for a transmission cross member because there's like nothing to attach to under here, so that'll be a thing. And then back in the back, I am reminded that there is currently no differential in this car at all. And so we're gonna have to fix that. We're also gonna eliminate these half shafts that have that funky bolt together adapter onto the center diff. And that is what we were welding together at Tucson Dragway the last time we had this thing out when we were drag racing against the Crusher. I guess that's gonna be eliminated. So I think our starting point is just start taking the bell housing apart and then try and bolt on the new one and figure out our clearance for our T56.
T5 bell housing gone.
Okay. This is the mid plate for the new bell housing.
It is once again time to put very shiny parts on our rusty old car. This flywheel and our transmission kit came from Silver Sport Transmissions, a company that specializes in adapting 5 and 6-speed manual gearboxes to any old car. Now, they don't have a kit specifically for our rusty old Datsun 240Z, but they have enough universal parts that we're gonna be able to take our old T5 manual gearbox out and put a Tremec Magnum T56 6-speed in there. It's gonna be awesome.
Then, that doesn't feel great.
Oh, no.
There we go, that feels great. Ooh, that feels awesome. Oh, it's really good.
Do you need a moment alone with the billet flywheel? I'm gonna go call my wife now. So this is a Tremec T56 Magnum 6-speed gearbox. Awesome trans, you'll find it in a lot of late model cars. You'll also find it retrofitted in a whole bunch of older muscle cars by companies just like Silver Sport Transmissions. They're modular, you're gonna have 6 speeds. 4th is 1-to-1, 5th is overdrive, which in this trans is 0.80 to 1, and 6th is double overdrive, which is 0.63 to 1. This trans will give us the ability to run tiny tires on an import car, all the gear we want, and still cruise down the highway comfortably. And more importantly, the shift mounting point is way back here. So our shifter is no longer gonna be under our dashboard like it was with that T5. That's probably my favorite part about this whole deal is no longer pushing up to go into first gear. We'll actually be able to push forward like a normal car.
So the next thing we really should do is mock up the bell housing in the car and use a dial indicator to check the concentricity of the center line of the engine's crankshaft with the hole in the back of the bell housing so that the clutch and the transmission, everything's perfectly aligned with the engine. But guess what's not gonna happen? That. Because we don't have offset dowel pins in order to adjust it when it's bad anyway. So we're gonna roadkill it and just slam it together. It's the wrong thing to do. If it's not perfectly aligned, you can run into problems with being able to bang shift the thing. So we'll see what happens. But right now, we're just gonna slam it together with this clutch, which by the way, Silver Sport uses a flywheel with a Chevy pattern on it, just to simplify installation, so they only have to stock Chevy type clutches. So here I am installing the Chevy clutch on the small block Ford in the Datsun. We wanted to heave the transmission up in here just to see if it was gonna clear the floor pans and tunnel and all that stuff, and we hadn't even messed with the throwout bearing yet. As of this moment, the transmission's fitting so well, we actually started to work out the throwout bearing, and we're getting it up in there until we realize that this doohickey on the trans case is hitting this bulge in the body of the car. And because we don't want to damage the pristine sheet metal on the Rotsun, we're gonna go ahead and just hack this thing right off the case of the transmission to make clearance.
Fixed.
There we go, we're good.
Okay, hurry.
No, just let go, you're fine.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah.
We have broke nearly everything in the drivetrain of the Rotsun over the years. We broke our T5 transmission twice. We broke our rear differential. We broke the half shafts. I mean, we've destroyed everything thanks to our Ford Power Stroke diesel turbo power plant. And once again, we're gonna go with spend way too much money on parts the car doesn't deserve, and we're gonna throw $1,200 worth of eBay stuff on a pallet at the rear suspension and drivetrain, and then we're gonna go throw another $3,000 worth of polished and powder-coated billet parts to make this fit that rusty car. What you're looking at is the complete rear suspension and differential and brake systems from a 1990 to 1996 Nissan 300ZX twin turbo car. What does that mean? It means we now have a larger differential. This is an R230. This is bigger than a Ford 9-inch ring gear. We're gonna get 369 gearing, a viscous limited slip, 28 spline axles and CV joints, 5-lug conversion, which is gonna give us way more options for wheels and tires on the back of the car now. And all of that billet goodness is going to make this fit that car and ultimately be just that much more reliable than it used to. Oh. R200, this was the one we got off eBay out of a Subaru WRX STI. 8-inch ring gear, really not bad, limited slip. That's a pretty good diff that bolts right into a Datsun 240. This is an R230, which has a 905 ring gear, bigger than a 9-inch out of a Ford. 28 spline axles, bigger diameter, and less likely to twist in half like that one did. If you look here, this side, look, it turns, it's great. This side,
Not so much.
yeah, not so much. So yeah, hopefully this doesn't happen with this. I have better faith in it. Here's a list of everything we're about to replace. All of this stuff's going away. The only thing we're keeping from back here are the stock lower control arms. We're gonna get rid of our struts, our disc brakes, the half shaft, all that's coming out just as soon as I get this ridiculously long bolt out of the control arm. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make an adapter to go from the slide hammer to this bolt, so then I can just sit here and tap it out. Now, thread together. Working. I will not be beaten.
Go.
All right.
There you go.
Wow.
Ta-da! It's become official now. We're about ready to have 300ZX parts in the Rotsun. We've got the aftermarket mustache bar attached to the diff, and now we're ready to load it all up into the vehicle.
It's hitting something on the floor right there. Yeah, it's hitting the floor of the car.
Yeah, it is. We're running into a bunch of problems making this thing fit. We're not sure why just yet, but it looks like the diff is hitting the floor of the car before the bracket's going all the way up, and then there's also these drop-down brackets that need to fit on either side of the diff and mount to the control arms, and it's not fitting in between those, so we're in the fiddling stage right now. Oh, I just cut a brake line. Yep. Oh, what a pain. It's gonna leak forever. Nothing like adding work time. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and cut the notch in this cross member right here, taking about half of it out, both fore and aft and up and down, to try and make room for this differential.
Love welding right next to a fuel cell. Oh yeah. This is the half shaft out of the, I think, driver's side rear of the car. And we're rebuilding it with the stock 300ZX CV joints, outer and inner, but with brand new, shorter, custom shafts right there. And how dumb is this? We're almost ready to put it all together, and we can't finish the job because the stupid rubber boot doesn't fit over the housing of the CV shaft properly. The way these work is it's a lot of grease and ball bearings and races and stuff in there, and if you get any grit, any dirt in there, the whole thing locks up and destroys itself. So you really need the boot to stay on there. This is stopping everything we want to do today. This is the front control arm mounting point. Goes right there, right? Except the flange, the front of our brand new R230 differential, hits it. It will not go on there. We can't mount our control arms, so I'm just gonna borrow some stuff from Hot Rod Garage. This is the drive shaft of one of their project cars. They left it laying around. Clearly they don't need it, so I'm gonna cut it, and I'm gonna weld their drive shaft into our cross member so that our drive shaft has room to be awesome. Yeah. Thanks, Tony. Thanks, Lucky. And that is how you use Hot Rod Garage parts to fix a Roadkill project car.
Remember how we were working really hard last night on the CV joints? Well, we finally gave up on that because the CV boots that we had were completely wrong. So Mike called the guys that have the company that make this whole rear suspension deal, and they're gonna send us some complete axle shafts and everything. So in the morning, we'll be able to put that together, and that is gonna be hanging us up from completely installing all this. But once I clear out that bushing so that I can get the bolt through there, we are going to be hanging the spindle right here. And then those 300ZX brakes are supposed to go on this. And then, of course, the new coilovers. And then the rear suspension is done. But we also figured out that the entire back half of the car needs to be replumbed for brakes because the calipers aren't going to work with the hoses that we've got or the hard lines that we got. So just keeps adding up. More and more stuff. Okay, there you go.
Like everything on this car, the differential is halfway mounted, the transmission's halfway mounted. They kind of need to be all the way mounted by tomorrow when our drive shaft shows up. And right now, I'm gonna have to fabricate a transmission cross member because obviously there's no kit to put a Ford 5-liter Shermec T56 into a rusty car. So probably bolting this straight to rust.
Oh, it's only going to the rusty floor?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm giving you not one fender washer, but another fender washer
To put on the top.
to sandwich the rusty sheet metal.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. I care.
Today's the day it all comes together?
Yeah, this is our last day. We're out of time.
Oh, so it has to.
It has to. So let's recap here. All of the stuff we're doing is to make the car more reliable. It's currently broken, right? Here's our original setup. Now, mind you, this is an upgrade from stock 240Z stuff. I don't remember when we did this, but we converted our stock 240 stuff to aftermarket half shafts here. Now, these are 25 millimeters, which is hard for me to say because I don't speak Euro, which is weird. And you'll notice the stub axle, which should be in the differential, is broke off in here. Okay, so that's no good. We're getting rid of that. Never mind the fact that there's 2 adapters on each end here to convert all this stuff to CV, because the factory stuff is U-joint, and all these bolts fall apart.
All the time.
We never could keep them together. All right, so then we call up Tech Toys Tuning. They say get 300ZX turbo car stuff from a 90 to 96 Nissan car. We do that. So this is a stock 300ZX half shaft, which is too long for our application in the 240Z. The track width is too long.
Oh, okay.
So Tech Toys Tuning sent us shafts, which are shorter and stronger, but while we were assembling it, like Dave was pointing out, we found out our boot would not fit over the CV housing. And yeah, it's just a boot. We could probably hose clamp it on there, but if it comes loose and dirt gets in the balls, it will legit lock up the back end of the car.
Dirt in the balls, bad.
Yeah.
He spent like an hour on the phone yesterday trying to find the right boot.
Yeah, 30-year-old import car, nobody has the boots near us, not within 350 miles. So the dudes at Tech Toys overnighted us complete 300ZX aftermarket shortened shafts with the boots already installed, ready to go in the car. And we also got our new drive shaft this morning.
Yep.
So we're ready to reassemble the back end of the car and find out, does the motor run?
It's all gonna come together now in minutes.
Yeah.
Ready?
I hope I said all that right. I think I did.
It sounded like you did.
And the adventure continues. Our aftermarket axles, the ones we had overnighted to replace the other aftermarket axles that had a CV boot issue that wouldn't work, they're both too long. And although this looks like it's together, we can't actually put the hub on and the brake on because the CV is sticking through the face of the spindle. So now, this all has to come back apart again, but at least we have a solution. The driver's side, which is the shorter side of this deal, that'll get swapped to the passenger side. The passenger side axle will come back out. I will disassemble it and use our original aftermarket axles, which are shorter, to rebuild it. And I'll put that in here, and then with any luck, maybe by the end of the day, we'll have brakes on this and maybe even back tires. I think we're supposed to be at a track tomorrow. That's probably not gonna happen. At this point, I'll just settle to do a burnout. Even if it's right here on the lift, I don't care anymore. I just wanna hear the car run.
Bam.
Uh-oh.
What do you mean, uh-oh? There's no uh-oh. Still too long?
If this doesn't fit, can we just pretend this was all a joke and go home?
You know what we did pre-Roadkill with the Crusher Camaro? We had a center blocker and a rear end and couldn't get an axle to go in. We changed the chunk at West Tech.
Yeah?
And I cut the end of the axle off.
Yeah, you did. There isn't enough spline depth on this. When this thing is fully installed, it uses 100% of the spline.
But this end might be.
What he's trying to say is this axle is also too long. That's the punchline. Yeah. Yes.
I'll cut and sleep the son of a It'll be just like old days, because we did that on the Rotsun before. I will cut the axle in the middle. I will sleeve it. I rosette weld it.
We've done it before.
I will say nice things about it as I'm doing it. I just want to drive out of the shop. Okay, not even out of the shop. Burnout on the lift. Burnout on the lift. That's all I need in my life right now to make this worthwhile. I'm not even mad. It's a good car.
Just to be clear, we have 6 different axle shafts here, and they're all wrong. It's killing me.
We spent the night crying and laughing at this ridiculous problem with all of these axles we're trying to make fit. It is just a mess of custom and aftermarket parts. But we found a guy on social media who probably had a mix of stuff that was gonna solve our problem. So we headed down south on a short road trip to check it out.
Well, I brought everything I think we need to disassemble it. And I don't think it's fully assembled anyway, so we should be able to get back, I'm thinking, in 3 or 4 hours.
What exactly do we need?
So the control arms we have are stock, because when we ordered the kit, they were out of their control arms. Well, their control arms are adjustable up to 1.5 inches, almost 2 inches, so you can increase the track width, which is what we need with our axles. Our axles are too long.
Yeah.
Put the longer arms on, that'll space the upright out, then we should be good. No more shortening and resplining axles. Like, we should be in good shape with this.
Hopefully.
Man, this is nice. We're in Palos Verdes, California. We had a sweet drive up here in my old 67 C10, and we're visiting Joe, who's a Roadkill fan. He's been to a bunch of our events, and he's got a 71 240Z with the same aftermarket rear suspension. And Finnegan scienced out that the lower control arms have adjustable heims on them so that we can spread it out, which will solve our problem with having too long of an axle. So this is gonna be great. We're gonna gut this guy's car and leave him with a shell that won't roll anymore. Perfect Roadkill.
What all are we taking here?
Just these control arms, unless you needed something more.
All we gotta do is unbolt the inside.
And drop the coilover.
Yeah, unbolt the strut.
And pull the brake line, and you guys are set.
Yeah.
Coilover's off?
Yeah. Plan here is to take out the coilover from the top, the control arm from the bottom, disconnect the brake line, and take the whole thing as a unit back to our shop so that we can use our cool slide hammer attachment to get the lower pivot out.
Done.
This feels good.
That guy was cool.
Can't believe you let us strip his car.
What we're looking for is the aftermarket control arm being not shorter than the stock one. It needs to be longer. It's currently 1/8 shorter. So the heim joints have to be threaded
Okay, wait a minute.
a lot. Oh, dude.
Okay.
I can't even see the end of that heim.
That's not going to work. I think you have a 1/4 inch of heims sticking in that bung, and unless there's some super extendo 3-inch long heims out there that I'm not aware of.
The tubular control arm is shorter than the stock control arm, not longer, and there's not enough adjustment in these heim joints in order to make it the 2 inches longer that it needs to be. Dear Joe, thank you for being a Roadkill fan and allowing us to disassemble your car. We appreciate you, but it did no good.
Let's just light everything on fire. Yeah, they're shorter. They're not longer. I'm shorter, dude.
That is the story of our last
3-4 days, debacle. We had 3 sets of axles that were the wrong length, so we can't get the rear suspension together. Then we did the Hail Mary with that guy Joe, who was super cool, and we gutted his car right in his driveway, got back here, and poof, like that, realized that the control arms were completely wrong, also not the solution. So right now, it's Friday at like 6 p.m. There is nothing we can do to get the rear axle solved. Next week, we're gonna have to find a way to get some axles made or something. We've got like 3 different schemes in place with different people to figure out how to fix it. So what we're gonna do now is actually drop the car down and start worrying about other things. I've wired up the fuel system, I've wired up the transmission reverse lockout doohickey, and now we gotta deal with the clutch hydraulics, which I'm gonna do upstairs, and the shifter and some other stuff. So here we go, dropping the car down and finally moving on from the stupid IRS that I never wanna touch again as long as I live.
This will be a piece of sheet metal that covers the gaping hole that was in the transmission tunnel left over from, I don't know, the previous 2 transmissions that used to be there. I'm gonna cut a nifty little hole right there. Then I'm gonna cut it out of sheet metal here. Shifter will come through. I'll high-five Freiberger. He'll probably cry because something's actually getting done. Yeah! Happy days are here again.
So I think it's ready to fire up.
This is the part where we make noise.
Uh-huh. There we go! It's working! Okay, it works.
It's just like I remembered it. So crappy, I love it.
All right, that's a victory. We've gone as far as we can go. So we now have to take a week off and go shoot other shows and things like that. And then we gotta come back and get this thing running in time to drive it to the SEMA show in Las Vegas.
And we'll have axles by then.
All that stuff.
Correct ones.
A bunch of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. What could possibly go wrong? I feel much more relaxed now. You know why? It's 2 weeks later. And in the interim 2 weeks, there's been all sorts of relaxing things going on. Like, we shot a whole episode of Roadkill Garage, a whole episode of Faster with Finnegan, a whole episode of Junkyard Gold, and 4 episodes of Engine Masters. And now we're back here with the Rotsun. You know how many axles we ended up going through in order to find the right ones for the independent rear suspension? 9! Yes, 9 axles was the key number. And because we were out doing other things, we had Lucky bolt them in for us. He also made the brakes work, had to grind down the caliper here to make it work with the wheel, put on a little wheel spacer. This is all good to go. So finally, Finnegan and I can move on into doing the other things that this turd needs in order for us to hit the road. It needs like a passenger seat, and we gotta figure out why that turbo is smoking so bad. We got a real oiling problem there of some kind. And then once we get it fixed, we're hitting the road to the SEMA show. And we might even make it there, but I doubt it. This thing is a turd. It really is. We gotta figure out why this thing is huffing so much smoke, and Finn wants to make a new exhaust pipe for it, because this one just blasts the windshield. Blast the windshield on my side, though. You're good with that.
When we're going $160 allegedly on the highway.
We?
Today. You and me.
You.
Like Thelma and Louise.
Oh no, this is your.
We can't have
your
oil,
deal.
you know, in our peripherals.
Yeah. I wonder if you've got the drain on the pressure and the pressure on the drain.
That's possible. The only way to know is to take the lines off, pull the plate off, and then look and see which hole is bigger, because the bigger hole will be the return.
Right.
And I don't remember which is which when I made that thing, and that was 4 years ago.
11/16.
I'll fix the exhaust if you fix that. So let's talk about the history of the hater pipe on the Rotsun, right? When we first built this car, the turbo was mounted much lower in the car, right? And it had the very first hater pipe with a tractor flapper valve on it. And it came up out of the hood right around here, and it was kind of low profile. And then when our headers fell apart because they were built out of really cheap thin wall tubing, we moved everything up here, and we built hater pipe number 2 that came up straight and was taller and had a flapper right about here. And then Freiberg, I think you took this motor to Engine Masters.
Correct.
And it was lighting the roof of this
cell on fire.
It was lighting the dyno cell on fire. So at West Tech Performance, this got cut up and moved kind of sideways, and it's just been sitting here kind of like this ever since. And neither one of us are in love with how it looks. But right now, because of the oiling problem with the turbo, it's throwing oil all over the windshield. So if we can fix the oiling, great, but it still looks weird. So I'm thinking we should cut it and at least straighten it up and put another flapper on it.
Yeah, it needs a flapper. But here's breaking news. We have it plumbed correctly.
It's not like us. Okay, so then our problem then is the oil drain line needs to go back down to the pan. Right now it's going to the valve cover, and it is going through a scavenge pump that's pumping the oil, but it's still way too high. So I think we're gonna have to weld a fitting into the oil pan, run the hose down there. Gravity should do its job, hopefully less smoke. Gator Pipe 2019, done. I don't know why this makes me so happy. It's gonna obstruct my vision. It's gonna be loud. People are gonna stare. Oh yeah, that's why I like it. People are gonna stare.
Oh, we're screwed. I can't move it back because of the bell housing. I can't move it down because of that.
Oh no. This is the oil drain for our turbo. This needs to go to our oil pan, but we can't get the oil pan out of the car, so our options here are limited. We can't weld our fitting in there like we wanted to, so now we're gonna use, it's not quite a bulkhead fitting, but we're gonna make it a bulkhead fitting. We're gonna drill a hole, we're gonna shove the fitting in there, put a nut that only sort of fits the backside of the fitting on the inside, and then silicone everything, a lot. And I'm sure it won't fall apart for the duration of this road trip.
All right, we're done. Now we have to move on to throwing a seat in the car. Oh, and figuring out if that even fixed the oil leak turbo smoking thing.
Ready?
Sure.
Nothing happens with the key.
You forgot how to start it? Up top on the roll cage.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. It's a race car now.
He forgot how to start it.
That was my fault. Hey. We have oil pressure.
It's fixed!
Hey, look at that. Oh,
Ignore that part.
I think it's good enough for who it's for.
We're all good except for the actual wet oil coming up out of the pipe.
I'm sure that's residual.
Residual.
And it'll be much higher than it was before. That'll land on the Prius behind us. I'm cool.
I'm good. So
Okay.
I think all we have left to do is throw the passenger seat in this thing and, you know, give it a quick detail, you know, before the SEMA show. Then we're out of here. Let's see. Ooh, headlights might work. I see something going on. Here we go.
Doing it.
Rotsun lives.
New trans, new rear end, new clutch.
Not smoking yet. Man, this thing drives good.
That's good too.
Too bad it's utter trash.
I think we get there by midnight. We valet park this thing like G's. Roll in, bet it all on black.
I smell a lot of burning.
Got a lot of oil up there.
What's that grinding? Now you got me worried about that rear wheel falling off.
Who put it back on?
I put the wheel back on, but remember the whole clip thing?
What clip? Oh. Oh. You convinced me it was fine.
That was before we were driving it.
Oh.
I assumed we'd never leave the shop.
Oh.
Whoops.
Well, we're really not going very fast, so if it falls off, we'll be fine.
Yeah. If it fails to fail, will it still be the Rotsun?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I can see through the roof right now.
I can too. Here and here and here. Over there. Right there. Yeah.
This car is still totally offensive. I think that's what I love about it.
It just died?
Yeah. Well, at least we got a shoulder.
Wow. Yep. The Rotsun is great again. Oh, except for the dying on the freeway part. David Freiberger here, coming to you from the side of the freeway where the Rotsun has failed once again. Mike Finnegan, what's going on in this situation?
Well, I'm having the time of my life, David, because as you know, the shoulder of the highway is where I like to spend all of my time.
So that's a wrap on the Rotsun once again, failing us in royal form. We gotta get a battery. You know, the very first time that the Rotsun ever failed on us, the battery fell over into the header and stopped our day.
Yeah,
So we built this battery hold down bracket that's currently in our way.
it is. Now the question is, did the battery fail or do we not have a charging system?
I'd say both.
Yeah, we got no charging system.
Okay.
This will get us off the highway at least, though. Okay, it says cut, but it won't cut. These are the world's worst crimpers, and yet I'm going to use them to fix our charging problem. Battery's dead because the alternator's not charging it. And the alternator's not charging it because we had a little tiny wire that excites this thing, and it was broken in half. And I'm going to fix it with this wire that's the wrong color and the wrong size. If I could just find something to cut it. Oh, wait, here we go. All right, so I'll use the pliers to cut the wire, and then I'll use the wire cutters not to cut the wire. That's not even a good stripper either. All right, if you see these, just throw them. They're useless. But these won't crimp. I need those back. Damn. Okay, go for it.
We might have another oiling problem.
Well, stop. Keep doing it. You might not have the pump on.
I wonder if that somehow powers the pump.
That's my guess. The odd thing is that's not showing any voltage, but when I disconnect it, we get oil out of the exhaust, as if that's powering the scavenge pump or something somehow.
That is weird.
Yeah.
The whole problem was the wire was not going to anything. So there was no voltage to excite the alternator. But I think if you start it up now, I think we're gonna see 13 volts right here. Going up. Go ahead and rev it. Okay. All right. The battery's really dead. It needs to charge, but it was climbing as you revved it.
Okay.
It's fixed. Barstow, baby, Barstow.
Woo-ha! What happens in Barstow stays in Barstow. It's a beautiful morning in the glamorous garden spot of Barstow, California. And while the Rotsun hasn't exactly failed yet, we do have a turd in the punch bowl. So when you accelerate even a little bit, it makes a hideous noise. It feels like a drive shaft hitting the underside of the floorboards, but in a really horrible way. But the thing is, it's got that independent rear suspension where the drive shaft and the pinion shouldn't move. But is it? We're about to find out.
Well, I'm not entirely sure what all the noise is, but it definitely sounds rotational. And it sounds like every time we accelerate and the car squats, something's hitting the drive shaft.
and it might be this bracket that's swinging above it. I don't see a lot of witness marks, but I'm gonna take it out anyway. Nothing else, it's extra weight and we don't need it. Uh-huh, right there. I think that was the noise. See the shiny part? I think that little part was what was hitting. Vegas, baby, Vegas.
Fixed?
Fixed.
Good. Nice work. No, 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 no! I have no door latch.
Oh, let's make it a U-turn.
You may find this hard to believe, but we just randomly turned off into the desert, and this is Las Vegas Boulevard.
This goes all the way to the strip,
This goes all the way there.
and it parallels dirt and desert.
Well, that's prison right there.
All right, we're not gonna stop here.
But after prison, yes.
So we're nearly to Vegas. The car still runs, and we haven't done a burnout yet.
More importantly, the Rotsun hasn't failed yet. So we need to give it its best opportunity to fail.
Agreed. Let's go find some desert to play in.
Ooh, our natural habitat.
Yeah.
Oh, that might be bottoming out.
Yeah, just a little bit.
That was Rotsun levels of violence. That was pretty good.
It works!
And you know what? It's still rolling. Maybe it'll get us all the way to the SEMA show.
It works!
Let's go.
Vegas!
Vegas, baby. You're so money, you don't even know your money.
Oh, dude, you're like this big bear with these claws, and you got these claws, and you don't know what to do with them. We're 4 miles from the convention center, 4 miles from SEMA, and
Ooh.
it's 235 degrees. What do you think? Keep going?
I thought it was gonna fail to fail.
Oh, it's gonna fail, but the question is, does it fail here on the strip, or does it fail at the convention center where all the cool cars are?
I can't believe the water's still in it right now.
Technically, we've won. We've made it here, but we're still 4 miles from SEMA in the convention center, and we are now actually overheating. That's 236 degrees and climbing. There's a lot of holes in this car that coolant could go through when this thing finally pops.
I got news, that's 240.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Oh, dude, I feel the heat through the floor now.
Yeah, I smell it. I almost don't want to pull next to the curb, dude. If it pops near a pedestrian, we're in trouble.
I know, we gotta get in a lot or something. Let's just pull in here. The Rotsun failed.
And technically we made it.
We did make it.
I could smell the corn dogs at that convention center from here.
Oh yeah, it's literally right there.
We're in Vegas. There's a
Yeah,
Ferris wheel.
we got Vegas, we got the strip, we got the whole thing. We did not make it to the SEMA show. What happened is we were doing burnouts, as you know, and it got hot, and we got on the freeway, and it didn't get better, and we got in traffic. It climbed above 240 degrees while sitting in traffic. So,
Walking?
walking.
I love this car.
I hate this car.
Look at it, it's the Rotsun. It's back. The Rotsun rules. It goes, it stops, it turns, it drifts, it does donuts. The one thing it doesn't do is stay cool in traffic, and I don't care. I'm not sure Freiberger understands what true love really is. I don't care how much this car hurts me. every now and again, it shows me just a little bit of performance, gets me all excited, and then it leaves me stranded. And I'm okay with that.
Finnegan loves this car. But the thing is, every time I start to develop just a little bit of affection, maybe even some puppy love, it goes right off the cliff for me. And right now, I would say I absolutely love the transmission that we swapped in the thing. The rear end is great because it didn't break, but it is clunking and making some noise like maybe it has a bad bearing. And worst of all, it finally failed on us. And the problem is, cooling system. Now the upside is there's nothing here that we can't more easily fix, and hopefully it doesn't sit for another 2 years. I take that back. Let's let it sit for like another 5 years. You know what? Maybe Finnegan should just take it home. That would be fine with me.
I hope they changed the theme music for the end of this episode. I feel like it deserves something better than we normally have.
Like the Rocky music or something?
Definitely. Eye of the Tiger.